65 years after the murder of two teenagers in Montana, investigators finally named the killer, based on a single glass slide that had been sitting in a case file all this time. In 1956, police had no DNA testing, no genetic genealogy. Today, technology reached back almost 7 decades and pointed to a man no one had ever officially suspected. This is the story of how a simple walk by 3 boys ended with the discovery of bodies, how a young couple from a lover's lane turned into a cold case, and how a small piece of glass from 1956 outlived the victims, the killer, and the detectives, only to finally say, "This is his name." On January 3rd, 1956, just 3 days into the new year, 3 boys from Montana went for a walk along the Sun River near Wadsworth Park, northwest of Great Falls. It was an ordinary winter day, cold, quiet, snow along the bank, bare branches, a gray sky. They noticed a car parked near the water. For that place, this was not unusual. This stretch of road was known as Lover's Lane, a secluded spot where young couples drove to be alone. But what the children saw next to the car was not the usual scene. A young man was lying on the ground. His hands were tied behind his back with a belt, his own belt. He was not moving. One of the boys ran for help. Soon the sheriff and his deputies arrived, and a perimeter was set up around the car. The dead boy was identified as 18-year-old Lloyd Duane Bogle, a U.S. Air Force serviceman from Malmstrom Air Force Base, originally from Texas. He had been shot in the head. The next day, January 4th, a road worker was driving along a dirt road north of Great Falls. In a ditch, he saw a girl's body. It was 16-year-old Patricia Kalitzke, a student at the local high school. She too had been shot in the head, just like Lloyd, but the autopsy showed she had also been sexually assaulted. The Cascade County Sheriff's Office now had a double homicide case of 2 teenagers in a lover's lane. According to the Great Falls Tribune and Sheriff's reports, Patricia Kalitzke and Lloyd Bogle were a couple. He was a young serviceman from Malmstrom Air Force Base. She was a high school student from Great Falls. Their relationship was seen as serious. Acquaintances said they were even discussing a possible marriage. The evening before the murders, they were seen together in a car leaving Great Falls. The logic of the investigation was simple. They went to the same place many others had gone before, a quiet stretch of road by the river, just to be alone. But that night, someone else was there. Someone who led them to the point where Lloyd's body was found tied up by the car, and Patricia's body was discovered in a ditch several kilometers away. In 1956, investigators did not have what we now take for granted: DNA databases, genetic profiles, genealogy services. They had bullets, the crime scene, witness statements, possible motives. Detectives from the Cascade County Sheriff's Office interviewed many people, checked local residents, military personnel, and acquaintances of the couple. Different men came under suspicion, but none were connected to the case enough to face charges. According to the Great Falls History Museum, every lead eventually fizzled out, no new motive emerged, and the case remained unsolved for 65 years. Still, the doctors who performed Patricia's autopsy took a step that at the time looked like routine procedure. They took a vaginal swab and preserved it on a glass microscope slide. In the 1950s, no one knew the word DNA profile, but that slide outlived many of the people involved in the case. In 2001, Detective Phil Madison from the Sheriff's Office returned to the Kalitzke/Bogle case and decided to send the preserved sample from 1956 to a laboratory. Lab technicians were able to extract sperm and create a DNA profile of an unknown man. Importantly, this profile did not match Lloyd Bogle's DNA. This confirmed that the sexual assault on Patricia was committed by someone else, not her boyfriend. But in the early 2000s, as CNN and NBC reported, this DNA found no matches in existing databases. The killer was not in federal or state DNA systems. Either he had never been caught, or his profile had never been digitized. The case remained cold. In 2012, the double homicide case from 1956 was assigned to Detective John Cadner from the Cascade County Sheriff's Office. It was his first cold case. In an interview with NPR, Cadner recalled that his first task was digitizing the huge paper file, newspaper clippings, reports, notes, photos spanning decades. This took months, but only then could he see the full picture. Cadner also worked on current cases, new crimes that required immediate attention. Still, he kept returning to the Kalitzke/Bogle file. And the more he read, the clearer it became. The only chance was DNA. By that time, the criminal justice world had already experienced the Golden State Killer case. The arrest of Joseph DeAngelo, using genetic genealogy, showed that old DNA samples could be revived through databases where people voluntarily upload their genetic profiles to find relatives. In 2019, Cadner reached out to Bode Technology, a company that specializes in DNA analysis for law enforcement and the use of genetic genealogy. From the microscopic glass slide with the 1956 sample, DNA was extracted and a more detailed profile of the killer was created. This profile was uploaded into voluntary genealogy databases, the same ones where people upload their data after tests like 23andMe and Ancestry. As Andrew Singer, a representative of Bode Technology, explained to NPR, genealogists do not get the killer's name immediately. More often, the system finds distant relatives, say a second or third cousin of the person whose DNA was left at the crime scene. Then comes the reverse family tree. From the found cousin, they go up to common ancestors, then down the branches to other descendants, selecting those who, by time and place, could be connected to the crime. Using birth, death, and marriage records, directories, newspaper publications, and city archives, genealogists and investigators narrowed the circle down to one name. The DNA search led to a man named Kenneth Gould. According to CNN, NBC, and the Great Falls Tribune, Gould was a native of Great Falls and lived in the area during the murders. Archival records showed he grew up in the same area as Patricia Kalitzke. They lived not far from each other. After 1956, Gould moved, first to Washington State, then to Missouri. There he lived with his wife and children. Importantly, according to the sheriff and media, Gould was not listed as a suspect in the original investigation. His name was not among those officially considered suspects. In 2007, Kenneth Gould died in Oregon County, Missouri. He was 79 years old, and his remains were cremated. Police needed not just naming a name, but genetic confirmation, and they did not have the suspect's body. The next step was one of the most morally difficult. Detectives from the Cascade County Sheriff's Office went to Kenneth Gould's children. They came not with a warrant, but with a story. They told them about the double homicide in 1956, about Patricia and Lloyd, about how DNA from the crime scene connected through genetic genealogy to their family tree. They had to say directly, "Your father, who was never officially a suspect, is now a key figure in a murder and rape case. And we need your help to either confirm this or disprove it." Gould's children agreed to provide DNA samples. The laboratory compared their profiles with the DNA extracted from the 1956 sample. The match confirmed, genetically, everything points to Kenneth Gould being the man who left DNA on Patricia Kalitzke's body. In press releases from the sheriff's office and NBC materials, it is emphasized that since Gould is dead, authorities can officially say he is most likely responsible for the crime. On June 8, 2021, the Cascade County Sheriff announced that the double homicide case of Patricia Kalitzke and Lloyd Bogle was closed. According to Cadner, in his NPR interview, this was the moment when a case made of theories finally had a name and direction. After genetic confirmation of Gould's identity, investigators contacted the victims' families. Relatives experienced mixed feelings. On one hand, relief to finally know who was behind the murder that had been talked about for decades. On the other hand, for those who remembered Patricia and Lloyd, this meant reliving the trauma of 1956. As Cadner said, "They are happy, but this brought up many memories." For some family members, this became a late but still an answer. For others, a reminder that some wounds do not heal. They just get covered by a layer of time. From a forensic standpoint, Kalitzke/Bogle is one of the oldest cases solved using DNA and genetic genealogy. The crime, January 1956. First DNA extraction, 2001. Use of genetic genealogy, 2019. Official case closure, 2021, after 65 years. The case shows how a simple medical standard, a preserved swab on glass, can become decisive after half a century. How genetic genealogy allows investigators to reach a person who never submitted their DNA and was not in criminal databases. How technology changes the balance. What seemed forever lost suddenly gets a chance for an answer. At the same time, as NPR notes, legislative restrictions are already appearing around the use of genetic genealogy, regulating how and when police can access such databases. The success of such investigations depends on three things: the quality of old evidence preservation, the number of people who voluntarily upload their profiles to genealogy services, and the legal ability to connect the two. Winter, Montana, a river, Lover's Lane, a quiet riverside spot where the body of one teenager is found, then another. A 16-year-old schoolgirl and an 18-year-old serviceman, a young couple whose story ends in a single night. 65 years of complete uncertainty for families in the town. Resolution through a single glass slide from 1956. A laboratory, genetic genealogy, and the name of a man who was never considered a suspect. And the most frightening question that remains after this story is this: if one old glass slide could name the killer after 65 years, how many more such slides are lying in boxes across the country, waiting for their turn? And how many people live with the certainty that their secret stayed in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, until DNA quietly waits for someone to say, "It's time to open this file"? All will be revealed in time. Just wait, and truth shall shine.